Okay, I guess that worked. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm Rosemary from Hands of Light by Rosemary, located in New Jersey. I'm a Reiki Master teacher, an author, an intuitive and angel communicator, and a life guide. So today I wanted to talk about why we choose the families we choose, why we do what we do when we get here, and I'll touch on karma and the idea of life lessons. So the first thing I want you to think about is that this place here, Earth, is actually the school. This is the learning ground for your soul. When you learn a lesson from something you've been through and you learn from this thing and you transform and you move ahead, you are bringing more light into your soul, and therefore your soul is vibrating at a higher frequency, and it allows you to bring more light when you pass over to the other side. We gift our light back to the big light called God or energy or whatever you call your higher power. We gift it back when we go. Many times, and this is something I've learned from channeling and metaphysics and also just working with the angel realm for so many years, we come in with what's called a blueprint. A blueprint is a guide for what you wanted to learn in this lifetime. It has certain different things that you put in there before you got here, before your soul birthed here, that you said you wanted to overcome, learn, or get better at doing. Along with the ones that we choose personally for our soul, higher power, God, the creator, also puts a few in that probably can help you to transform yourself as well. So, for instance, in my life path, I wrote I wanted to be a mom, I wanted to teach people, and I wanted to forgive. So, in this lifetime, I went through a divorce. I had a child I raised by myself for about 9 or 10 years. And, I became a teacher first, and then now I'm a metaphysical teacher for spiritual things. But I was a school teacher too for 32 years. So we put in our life path things we want to do. Now, as far as forgiveness goes, if I don't get the idea in this lifetime that I need to forgive, I will continue to get situations in my life that give me opportunity to practice forgiving. So we're not really always done with a lesson. We just learn it at different levels. So you think of like a kindergarten level, high school level, college level, graduate level. Sometimes when you're up for a graduate level lesson, it's one of those very, very hard or difficult parts in your life. I'll let you let Sasha in, and then I'll continue.
She's in. They
Okay,
can
she's
join.
got to put her camera on and her sound. Okay, so when we have a life lesson to learn, if you don't learn it, it's going to repeat itself until you get the idea. Sometimes you get like the tap on the shoulder, with a small lesson. And if you're not listening, you get a bigger tap. When you're not listening, you get the smack in the face. If you're not listening, you literally get a wham. It could be a difficult, like an accident. It could be, something very drastic happens that causes you to stop and say, wait a minute now, what am I missing? What do I need to know? And that's all part of a journey that our soul takes to be able to learn more. One of the things I do when I meet with a client is I have them think of what are the areas in your life that are patterns that continue to repeat. So let's say for my life personally, the pattern that repeated for me was really obnoxious, strong-willed people that wanted their way all the time. So, of course, my first four bosses when I was working young, in high school, were very obnoxious people that always wanted their way and didn't listen. Okay. My mom was a very, very strong woman. Okay. She was very aggressive in her personality. She was very strong willed and strong minded. My first husband, very strong minded, very strong willed. And after a while, I'm like, isn't this unusual that every single person that I'm having difficulty with has exactly the same personality? And finally, the light bulb went on, and I said, it's because I have to learn how to communicate and speak up for myself. And that is my pattern, and that is my life lesson. So from that point on, I'm like, oh, I get it. So I started speaking up for myself. And what I realized was all those situations I was having difficulty with melted away. And I hadn't been with those kind of personalities ever since. And it was there really to teach me to speak up for myself and to be aware of what I needed for my life too. When you don't understand a lesson and it continues to repeat, I always have people go back into their quiet place and notice if a certain kind of personality ticks them off all the time. Could be someone loud. Notice if you always choose the same type of boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, whatever. Notice if you have the same difficulty trying to fix people and they don't want to be fixed. As healers, many of us are fix-its. We want to help everybody. We just figure if they just listen, it'll all be wonderful. But then you realize you come up against that wall of someone that's like, I don't want you to fix me. But we continue to try and then we get frustrated and we don't know why that becomes a pattern. So what you realize is that everyone is on their own journey. We all have a life lesson to learn. And sometimes you're with exactly the opposite person to show you what you need to learn. Sometimes the people that drive you crazy are the ones like us, the ones most like us, because they're mirroring the same issues you have. And you're looking at the person saying, don't they realize they have to speak up? And it could have been the same issue I had. And it annoys me because I'm seeing it clearly in that other person. So many times life will show you, mirrors back to you what you need to also learn. Many times we have blocks that we take back from our soul's journey. For instance, one block might be that I might be pig-headed or stubborn, okay? So you might say, well, all right, I have this stubbornness. What does that block in me? It may block your ability to listen clearly and understand another person's point of view. Let's say you are too giving and you don't allow yourself to receive. That can become a block because it'll build resentment because you're always giving and you're never getting it back. So I might have to learn in that situation to step back and allow that other person to do for me what I always do for them. We all have something that we need to work on, and that's why we're here on the Earth School. Family members and soul groups. Do you ever wonder why you pick your parents? You might, it sounds really strange when we think about this, but before we get here, we actually pick our situation and parents. In fact, the fetus hangs around the mother before birth, deciding whether it should enter completely and go through the birth canal and take its first breath and live on Earth School or not. I really truly believe that when a child is stillborn, it has a choice. I had read for a woman I worked with years ago. She was pregnant and she wound up having a miscarriage, I think at 3 or 4 months. And I did a reading for her and I found out that the baby decided not to come in yet because it had a damaged heart. And if it would have been born in, it would have to accept a path of a lifetime of operations. So the soul left, and in the reading I was told a year to the day the soul will come back again in a different fetus, a different case. A year to the day she was pregnant again, and the baby was born perfectly healthy. And it gave her peace to know that this soul just temporarily left and was going to come back, and it did. So that really gave me the understanding that our soul doesn't really die, it just crosses over and can come back at the right time. Soul groups and family groups often come together to heal family issues. For instance, it's very common for families with addictive issues to be born in a series of, let's say, ancestry line of addiction. And then someone in the family line will break the addictive cycle, and therefore back in their ancestral line will actually start to heal due to their recovery. And it's really interesting is when you're on a soul journey and you are helping yourself, you are in essence helping your whole soul group as well as other souls on earth, because our energy is like concentric rings that are affecting the collective. So that's a wonderful thing to know, that it's not selfish to take care of yourself and to work on your inner growth, because it in turn helps other people as well. The other thing is you can't transmit what you don't already have. So sometimes we expect something from people that they cannot give us because they don't know it themselves. So you might have, let's say you were raised by a parent that really had trouble showing you love. If you go back in their family line, you might find that they did not have the love they needed to heal their inner child. So, therefore, when they parented, they are parenting with the way that they were raised. So, they don't really know how to parent you. The lesson may be when you raise your kids, you're going to realize, you know what? I could have used more love. So, for my kids, I'm going to tell them that I love them. I'm going to hug them more. I'm going to give them the peace of mind that I didn't get that I needed. And then it helps you become a more loving person. And in turn, your child will be able to transmit that love that they have learned from you to their kids and their family. Okay, we all have free will and free choice, even in the midst of really lousy things that happen to all of us. And we all have something. You'll have to look at it like a growth lesson. So, for instance, let's say, in a terrible situation, a child might be abused. It's not their fault. Okay. The adults in their circle and in their care didn't know better. And therefore, they did the wrong thing for the person that was raised by them. In essence, you have to decide to accept your inner child and your inner growth and your inner peace instead of holding on to that old situation which will hold you back. So if you are a person that was raised without that care that you needed, your responsibility is to re-nurture yourself, to surround yourself with positive people, to have your own healing journey the way that you need it, so that you can transform that hurt that you experienced. So that way you could bring that love into the light and into other people that need it from you. And we all have free will to do that. The other thing I say is, you have free will to allow lousy situations to take up real estate in your head, or you can let them go. I know there's only so much space in here right now. I've got jingles from 1965 in my brain. I can't get rid of them. And and you can hold what you need to hold, but you got to let some stuff go. So it's like you think of like your brain like this computer. Sometimes you have to go vacuum it out, control, alternate, delete, get rid of those old junky programs that said, I'm not good enough, I'm too tiny, I'm too fat, no one loves me, I was hurt as a kid. Like all these things that we hold on to are no longer serving a purpose as our adult life, but we continue to tell ourselves those old stories, and those old stories can hold you back. So you can always write a new chapter. So what I always say is just because yesterday was lousy, don't let it be today's lousy. That was yesterday. Look at tomorrow and say, where do I want to be today? Where do I want to be tomorrow? You can only get there one choice at a time. So, your path, your life plan has to be a proactive journey where you were taking back your power. Don't allow anyone to take up real estate in your brain. If you want them to, fine, they'll be up there. But I only allow the ones up there that are positive. The ones that are negative, I put it in a little bundle and I say, you know what? They just don't know better. They don't know how to treat me, or they don't know they're hurting my feelings. They don't know any better. That's really sad for them. And then you surround yourself with positive people that are changing lives or that are changing your life. And allow yourself that grace of being loved by your friends, your family, and other people that support you. That's how you find your happiness again. If you make a mistake, or what we call a mistake, the angels call it a choice. So, in other words, we can either align ourselves with a choice of love, we can align ourselves with a choice of fear. You can align yourself with a choice of personal growth. You can allow yourself a choice of, I think I'm going to kick myself in the head today. And that's your choice. But if you choose that you want to grow in spirit, if you choose you want to be the best version of yourself, you're going to start listening to how you talk to yourself, your inner dialogue. You're going to start realizing those people that are not treating you well and your opportunities that you have to speak up, to be treated more kindly. And you're not going to allow yourself to be mistreated. We teach people how to treat us, and we also have to teach ourselves how to be kinder to ourselves. There's really no mistakes, there's only lessons. So even if you're really botched up royally in your mind, what you do is you look at it and say, you know what? I made some bad choices here, but I think I'm going to try it differently next time. And the more you do that, the more you are taking control of your own life and you are being able to transform any area of your life that you feel stuck. Okay, being in the flow. If you find yourself like a fish going upstream all the time, you don't want to really be the salmon, right? You want to be in the flow. If you think of how a river flows, it flows around rocks. It doesn't stop at the rock and try to blast through the rock. It goes around, it goes over. It's like water just flows. You want to be in the current. I find when I'm making a life decision of any kind, if I really feel like I'm pushing for my will or my decision, then I'm being the salmon. I want to be the water. Okay, you want to be the water because the water will find its way easily. When a decision is really difficult for me, one of the things I do, besides asking my body, which is one way I tap into my intuition, is I allow myself the gift of some time before I look at the situation again. Sometimes when the timing is right, you'll flow effortlessly. Okay. I remember I was trying to do an event, I guess about a year or two ago with some of my friends, and we just kept hitting all these blockades. Like we weren't getting people signing up, and this was going wrong, and that was going wrong. And finally, I just stepped back and said, "Listen, the universe is telling us that the timing for this event is not right. It could be the place, it could be the timing. It's not like what we're presenting, it's the time." So we'd all just step back and we said, let's just do this a different time. So we changed the date and everything flowed very easily. It had to do with, I don't know what, it had to do with just the time that the divine timing wasn't there for it. Sometimes when the divine timing is in alignment with what you want, it's so easy. It's almost like magically easy. And you're like, wow, that was simple. Then you know it's right. When you're always you're forcing, that means that you are not in alignment with your soul's purpose or with what needs to happen next. And the same goes for arguments with other people. Sometimes, you're hitting a wall, you're hitting a wall, hitting a wall. You can't get through to that person. Let it go. Pray for that person, send light around them. When the timing's right, things will begin to flow more easily. You want to be the water, not the salmon. Okay. Um, Old wounds and unhealed trauma hold us back from spiritual growth. So, one of the things that you want to do is work on not only forgiving yourself for the actions that we take or the things we've said, but just even if you don't, even if the person is wrong, you're not forgiving them because they're right. You're forgiving them so you're not holding angst in you. So the one thing that you can do is just pray for their higher self to come in and help them transform because it's not up to you, right? And you pray for yourself that you can forgive yourself for feelings you have that are negative against that person. And eventually the feelings will just dissipate. And when the timing's right, you can always reach out if that's a situation important to you. Grudges are just resentment that's going to burn your gut. So don't hold grudges. All right. Resentments is just a lousy way to live your life, and it will really hold you back from making changes that you want to make. Here's another one. Don't worry if people don't agree with you. Sometimes when you're on a journey and you have a certain thing you want to do, like when I started my business, I was like, I'm going to do Reiki in my office. I'm going to have people come in. They're going to come for readings. When I first started, my husband's looking at me like, what? And my son at the time was a teenager. So, of course, the eye roll. Mom, who's going to come to you? Well, within a couple years, I got really smart when my son was about 20. And he's like, Mom, I'm giving your card to my friends now. And they started calling me. So it's kind of funny how we get smart when our kids are past the teen years. You get the eye roll till that point. But, if I would have worried about what everyone thought about what I was doing when I felt in my heart that I was going in the right direction, I could have easily been stopped. And when you know that you've made a decision and it feels right to your heart and your gut, you will do what you need to do. And don't worry about negative feelings from other people. Don't share it with the people that you know are negative. Just kind of keep it under wraps, do your thing. And then if they ask questions, sure, then you can share something. that you're protecting your emotions and you're also doing what you need to do on your path. Okay. A blueprint again is the pattern of things we want to learn. Now, there is an idea, people say, is my whole life fated? Well, not really. We have points and junctures in our life path of things we definitely wanted to do. So for me, I definitely wanted to teach. I definitely wanted a child. I definitely wanted to experience forgiveness and love. Okay, that's in there. Other things along the way are very open. So on our life path, we can meander around our life path. We seem to keep coming back to it when there's a strong desire to move ahead. We'll keep like hitting those points that we want to do. But along the way, your life path is really open and it has lots of opportunities for you to explore. There's even opportunities to completely derail yourself and then come back. Okay. So, like, I figure, when I was like 15 to 20, I kind of put my spiritual stuff on hold for a while because I had other stuff like boys I was interested in and life and high school and college. So we kind of move away and then we're like, wait, I want to go back there. And then you go back to it. So along the way, you got all these twists and turns in your life. And then we have a basic life path that we hit. Sometimes when you meet someone that has been in a life that you've lived of your soul in the past, it'll feel super duper familiar. It's like a resonance that you're like, oh my gosh, I have a resonance with this person. Sometimes I've read for people and they say, I think this person was my soulmate, but he's abused me. He's awful. He treats me bad. But when I met him, he was my soulmate. And I'm like, no, he was a person your soul knew. You might have loved him at one time. The lesson was to come back, learn the lesson, and then not be with that person. And that idea of soulmates really messes up a lot of women when they're talking about, I'm trying to find the soulmate. One of my people I read for years ago, her soulmate, so to speak, when we first met, was her soulmate, but he also wound up almost killing her in this lifetime because in a past lifetime he did kill her. And when I read for her, I said, now I know why you chose this guy. He seemed familiar because he was with you before and he killed you. In this lifetime, he threw you down a flight of stairs and, he caused great damage. So she did wind up leaving him, but it wasn't because the reading that this was after he had left him. I read for her and didn't know. And she had said, that's why he felt so familiar to me, but not in a good way. She didn't realize that sometimes familiarity isn't always the positive outcome. Sometimes it's the negative. It just feels familiar because you've been there before. So you have to be mindful of that. Okay. Many times our clues to who we are come out in many, many ways. Sometimes you might get what's called the quickening. So let's say I'm at the bookstore and someone mentions the word yoga. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I should start taking yoga. You start hearing that word from somebody. A book falls off the shelf with the name yoga on it. Someone mentions, hey, I'm taking a yoga class. You want to join me? Usually if I hear things 2 or 3 times, that's the universe telling me, we're hearing you, we're trying to get through to you, this is what we want you to do. And if I feel like a resonance or a chill or like a gut feeling, I know that's something I need to explore. I felt that way when I learned Reiki. I felt that way when I started channeling angels. I felt that way when I went for my master's degree. So like certain things along the way were like, yes, do that. And I just knew I had to. We don't always know why we're called to do certain things until after you've had the courage to try it. So for me, when I started my business and I started channeling, I loved doing it. I was getting this incredible information, but I didn't tell anybody because I was like, who am I going to tell? They're going to think I'm crazy. I was a school teacher. So what I did is I waited about 3 years. I channeled for myself, and then I started telling my family and some close friends. Eventually, everybody's coming out of the woodwork asking me to channel for them. And then I knew like that's what I was supposed to be doing, but I had to have the courage to take up that path to do it, regardless of what people might have said or thought about me, because it didn't really matter. And that's that. Sometimes your dreams will give you clues to what you need to do. If you have a lot of flying dreams, that often will show you this spiritual feeling. Sometimes you'll get like a clue in a dream or coincidences, which are actually synchronicities for what we need to do. Sometimes we're attracted to what we need to heal in ourselves. So where there might be an unresolved issue, let's say with a parent. So you'll pick a spouse that's just like your father or your mother. You might pick someone that needs more care than you need, and you might wind up caregiving for them. But those are all choices that your soul makes for you and that you decide on when you're in this situation. So I just talked a whole bunch, and I hope I didn't smother everybody. If anyone has questions or wants to ask something, you can unmute yourself, and you may have something you want to share or ask. I got more here, but I don't want to blather at you for for too long. Like, does anyone have a question?
I do.
Okay,
So, and Rosemary and I have known each other for 4 years, something like
probably.
that.
Uh-huh.
4,
Hmm.
and we met on Alignable. And so I've heard a lot of this, and I've read Gary Zukov's Seed of Soul, because a lot of what you're
Yes,
talking about is in
love
his
that.
book.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So the first question that I came to mind was, how do we know what our blueprint is? So,
hmm,
as an example, I was thinking about this as you were talking about it, and it came to me that I'm supposed to help. Always wanted to be a therapist since I was about 17. I wanted to be a therapist, and that didn't happen. But I'm a life coach, which
you're
is,
doing it. Yes,
I'm doing it. But the people that I want to help aren't coming to me.
they will.
So,
They will. I think that that's a block, Jilly. And there's a deeper thing that I'm feeling for you. So when
okay.
I'm looking at that, I'm like, you're a phenomenal coach, but you're not believing you are. And it's your own self, like you're like, well, what happens if I say the wrong thing? It's some sort of inner fear that you're having that's blocking that flow for you because the people are there, they just need to find you. Another thing that you can do, there's other life coaches that you might pair up as a group. So 2 or 3 people. So you might say, okay, a client comes to you, join up with another life coach and do a dual life coach session. That might be a different way to go about it, but you also get like double the energy for the price of one. In other words, you're getting two
Mhm.
counselors almost that guide you in similar ways but a little different at the same time. So someone may be willing
Okay.
to try something like that. You can call it a dynamic duo coaching session. And it could be a unique
Okay.
thing that you can add to your site that you can do with another person that does something very similar to you. It's worth a
Yeah.
try. I think that might
Yeah.
work.
That might work. So the question was, how do we know what our blueprint is? I mean, I
There you go.
only know one thing. So what?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Couple ways that I do it is like when you were a child, what things did you naturally gravitate toward? Which things brought you happiness and joy? That's one way. Because for me, it was always working with people, helping people, caring for people. So that's part of like what I do in a different way. I always wanted to teach, even really, really young. So teaching is definitely mine. So what did you play when you were a kid? What did you play at doing?
Um, well, artwork,
Okay.
and yeah, and
All right. I just got it. I got one for you. I just
okay.
got it. Artwork, Jolie. So I would like you to explore something with art therapy. There's a thing I just saw and I can't remember the name of it, but it's online where the person just randomly draws something like this, right? Like a
Hmm.
squiggle, and they
Hmm.
begin coloring it in, but it's something to do with unlocking your subconscious mind. But something like that you could bring into your sessions, like an almost like an art therapy kind of idea, but in your own way and in your own style. So you can bring art in as an unblocking tool.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm looking at the Lego pieces that I've got that are part of what I used to do when I was coaching in the corporate world. And I guess it's the imagination, the whole building thing
Building.
that, yeah, makes sense. And I want to use that in my coaching too,
You can
which,
you That you can also expand it though, Jolie. You can do
Okay.
something with flare markers because it's more like flowy, like flowing.
Mm.
The Legos is very exact. Okay, that's very linear. So it's maybe because you're thinking you're a linear thinker, but you're also creative. So you want
Mhm.
to bring in the creativity for those people to unblock the right brain.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking may work.
Okay.
Kimberly, I think you had a question too. Did you had your hand up before?
I did. My question was very similar to Jolie's about how do you know what's on your life path? Like how, because
Yeah.
you seem so like certain that this is what it is. And I just so
Yes.
you
I'm older than
answered
you
it.
too. It took a while. I'm older than you. Okay. So I want you to think of what area in your life do you need direction on right now? Like where, like, what would you say? I don't know what I'm doing next. You know, what area would that be for you?
I guess if I had a problem area, I always struggle around finances.
Okay. Here's what I want you to think about. So money is energy.
Hmm.
So chances are if you have trouble with money, you might also have trouble with the flow of give and take and the flow of energy. Do you
Hmm.
find yourself like almost a fear thing, like you have to hold on to it, or are you spending too much?
I'm spending too much.
You're spending too much. Okay. That's also kind of trying to say, like, screw this control that I'm under. Were you very strict as a child? Were you raised strict? Were your parents
Um,
strict?
I was not really, I was raised without as a child. So I didn't have,
Ah, that's why. Okay.
yeah.
So you might be compensating, your belief system is compensating for, well, look at this. I've got this. I don't have to hold back. I can buy this. I can buy that. I can
Yep.
buy this. So it's really to try to get rid of that feeling of lack that's in you.
Hmm.
So one thing I would suggest you do, like first thing, there are people that are money coaches, which are fabulous, but you want to
Hmm.
get one that works more on the emotional level because there's an emotion that is driving the overspending. And
Right.
it's like I can buy whatever I want, but then you're like at the end of the month, you're like, geez, you know, how much did I spend? I got to pay it now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that feeling is the emotional feeling that's driving that. So the
Hmm.
other thing too is, are you an overgiver?
Yes.
See, now that's the same energy. It's like I'm going to give because I'm not worthy of love. All right.
Hmm.
So it's that balance between giving and receiving that you need to find. And that's also, a life coach can help you, a counselor can help you. It's really about your self-esteem.
Hmm.
And that's what's holding you back. The other thing you can do is you can reward yourself for things that you don't buy. Instead of buying that $20, like put it aside and say, oh God, I wrote myself a check for $10. So instead of spending it and giving it to Amazon, you're sticking it in your bank account for a
Yeah.
future trip or something. So you
Yeah.
want to kind of like reward yourself for not doing that, but it looks like you are. I'm writing
Hmm.
myself a check for $100, and you just give yourself that money and put it away,
Yeah.
as if you're
Yeah.
buying something. You're buying a future trip, really. Whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah. I started this year putting away just a little bit of money every Friday, just so that
Yeah,
I could
that's
prove
good.
to myself that I can do it.
Yes, you
Like,
can do it.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, it's a good idea. And money is an issue that a lot of people have, either spending too much or not spending any. I know
Hmm.
another person that has tons of money won't spend any. I'm like, well, that's not good either. You have to have the
Right.
balance of using that for enjoyment or whatever you need, but
Yeah.
also saving. So there's that kind of like balance in life and
Hmm.
balance with money. It's just energy. Money's energy. I find when I don't worry about money, I start making more. So
Mm.
it's like if I started getting stressed, like, oh my God, I don't have a client, I will not get any clients. But if I start thinking, look how abundant I am, I'm doing this, I got a class coming up, all of a sudden people will book in and throw money at me. I'm like, it's
Hmm.
amazing, but it happens every time. And it's
Right.
really because I get out of my way and I don't allow that fear energy to permeate. If you
Hmm.
do, then you're shooting yourself in the foot, right?
Right.
Let
Right.
it let it let it flow. Let it flow, but don't let it go, Let it go. So you want to put it somewhere safe. You might even
Right.
do like a little almost like a ritual with the money. Like on Friday, you take that money, you write yourself a check or you put a stick-it note on like $100 bill and you put it in a special place and you put a, I don't know, crystal or rock on it and say, this rock is keeping this money safe. I can't spend it. It's there for me for later.
Hmm.
kind of like your nest egg kind of idea.
Right, right.
My mom always had a little nest egg somewhere,
Mm.
She either had her pocketbook or, my father would have it like stuffed away in a wallet in the closet, just
Mhm.
something that it would be like his money,
Yeah,
his mad money for
yeah.
buying something, but he didn't want to buy it. He just had the money in case.
Right,
You have
right.
to kind of trick yourself a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the other thing that resonated with me was how you talked about how we make up for what we didn't have when we were children. So I have a friend who teaches on time management for moms, and she says, "What are your two non-negotiables?" And
Yes.
mine are that my children don't go to bed hungry and that
Yes.
they know that they are loved, because those
Yes.
are two things that I did not have when I was a child. My mom, we didn't freely say I love you until my grandma died when I was 17.
Oh, see, my family did, but my husband's family didn't. So now, like, we always say that to each other. But
Hmm.
again, you have to relearn what you need and give it to your kids, which is great that you were able to do it. The
Yeah.
the the thing I know that's really hard. And I'm guessing this is you because you said with the money thing, you might like overbuy for your kids because it's
Oh
something
yeah.
you wanted, right? I
Yeah.
know we're all guilty of somewhat in that realm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. But you have to think too, like sometimes holding it back and allowing them to work for something
Hmm.
is teaching them how to be successful with money and giving
Right.
them a small allowance. One of the things my parents did, they gave me a small allowance and I was able to, let's say, buy my lunch at school with it. And I could buy it any way I wanted to. I could buy
Hmm.
an ice cream or I could hold on to it for the next week. And it taught me how to manage my money.
Hmm.
So those small lessons are helpful too as a parent of kids.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband's really good in that aspect. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
learn as I watch my kids through him. So
Yeah, that's good. That's what ages are your kids? Are
my
they
youngest is 8, and then I have a 16-year-old daughter, and then I have 3 stepchildren too.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I taught the 8-year-olds. I love that age group.
Yeah.
And I got 2 grandkids. Yeah, so love it. Love it. Yeah, so I write for kids too. So if you ever go to my website, rosemaryd.com, I write primary, middle grade fiction, and adult spiritual. I have 3 adult spiritual books now that are 2 are workbooks that you can learn things and then write in it and stuff. So they're all on Amazon and on my website. Yeah, so I hope you look at that. Yeah. Sasha, do you have a question? I can't hear Sasha though. There you go.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't know. I think this is I just needed to hear all this today. I've been kind of battling. I guess I call myself a binge person. So I
Hmm.
either am full throttle, like all in doing super good, or I start slowly like sabotaging myself on a regular basis um and getting out of like just slowing down and stuff like that. And my whole life I've been like that. So I'm just kind of like struggling right now, trying to figure out what I should be doing or where I should be going. Yeah,
Okay. Do you
that's
have
kind
a
of where
job?
I'm at.
Do you work right
Yeah,
now? What do you
yeah.
do? What do you do?
I'm a regional co-working manager.
Okay.
I run 3 co-working businesses in my area.
I'm feeling it's not completely where you want to be. Are you unhappy in that job?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
I like what I do, who I work for as far as my members. I'm not really okay with some of the company choices and aspects of the business. So I'm like uh struggling kind of like because I get paid pretty okay and like
yeah.
I don't really have an education to like get the same comparable job somewhere else. I've worked my way up through this company, so I'm kind of like not sure where I should do or where I should go.
Do they pay for any kind of education at all?
They pay part of it.
Okay.
They'll
Are
pay
you
a part of it.
so I'm trying to get a handle on I see something, but it's kind of fuzzy. All right, so if you were to pick the perfect job for you, what would it be? Like, even not what you're doing now, what would it be?
That's where I'm like, I
What do you
like
love?
working with people. I like
Yeah.
working with people. I like helping people. But like, I don't know. That's kind of like,
I almost see almost like caregiving, but I don't know in what aspect. Um, I don't know. I almost see like you could be a caregiver or a social
I did
worker
that
or
once in my life. I
did you?
once in my life, yeah.
Did you like it or no?
Well, I liked it. But like my life choices at that time took me for a dark turn for about
Yeah, yeah.
15 years of my life. So
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, I'm getting some information. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it on here. But yeah, and that's good. So continue to work on for you quiet times where you can tap into what you like and don't like. So one of the things for your job is write down all the aspects of your job that fit you. And then you could meditate or say a prayer and say, God, help me to locate a job where I can use these particular skills and then be open to a change. I know a lot of people stay in jobs that they're not happy with because they're getting good money for it, but they might hate what they're doing. And we spend so much time of our life doing something that we don't like. That's your life. You're trading your life for a job, right? I'd rather spend my time in a job I'm happy with or doing something than wasting it really if you're not happy in a job. So might be great like in customer service or sales or something with. Are you baking? Did you used to bake? I'm
I
seeing
do
cookies.
like just for fun, but not like anything
Yeah, but
serious.
I'm seeing like baking cookies. I don't know, so you might like pair up with another person. The other thing to do to find out what you love to do, try different experiences. Like you might want to do a seminar or go to a place where people are doing other things and say, you know what, that looks like a fun job. Like you might need to open yourself up to what other people are doing. The other thing too, did you have ADD as a kid or ADHD?
I do
Like
right now.
a
Yeah,
little
I
bit,
do
right?
have ADHD. Yeah.
ADHD. Okay. I was a
Mhm.
school teacher, so I'm sorry that I mentioned that, but
No, you're
it's
fine.
very common. ADHD people with that are highly they're movement. So you need a job with movement. You need change. You can't be doing the same boring thing every second. Drive you nuts.
Yeah.
Your mind is quick. You're a smart person, but you don't know you're a smart person. So there's a lot of things about having that as a kid that mark you as an adult because it's like, well, I'm too dumb. I can't do that. No, you're intelligent. It's just your brain is working differently. You might see more connections with ideas than other people do. Like you have to work with what you're good at, what your strengths are, because that's really a gift. It's not, anything bad. It's just,
Yeah.
you might have been labeled a certain way as a kid, but it doesn't mean that that's you. That's just a term. Okay, so some of the most brilliant kids I had learning disabilities or ADD, ADHD, didn't matter. They were just a phenomenal people and they're doing great things as adults. So you might find what it is. Do you like animals? Are you
Yeah,
an
I
animal
like
person?
animals.
So, and a vet tech. I mean, you might find something completely different that you never thought of by by who you are and what you love to do. So you really want to explore what you love to do as a kid. I always made mud pies, and I still like getting in the dirt in my garden.
I loved getting in my garden.
I,
Yeah.
I even sold mud pies as a kid for 5 cents, and people bought them. It's like, but I love the mud. So you got to find what you love and just really enjoy doing that thing that you love to do. And you might even explore it part time if it's something you don't want to give your job up right away. Put a foot in and say, well, let me just try that out for a day. Let me see what you're doing for your job, and just experience different things, because you might find that you can step away from what you don't like into the perfect job, but you're never going to know if you just stay there. Right?
That's true. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah.